on YouTube. We're good to go.
Hold on 1 second. I'll tell you when we're live.
Content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. Got it.
YouTube is the third party.
Very exciting times. On YouTube, we're good to go.
Hold on. All right, we are live.
What's up, everybody?
I like how this is my channel, but you go ahead and just like swoop in here and take the lead.
Like a true narcissist, you know?
All right, so we've got Dave today. Welcome, Dave. How about you start us off actually, since you just like kind of went ahead. Why are we doing this live today? What inspired this amazing gathering today?
And I don't normally I don't normally do live because I don't have a filter, and I hope that I don't get myself or you canceled. Um, but yeah, I like
Crap, we're
your.
doing this on my channel.
There we go. So we're doing it with you. Good luck. I hope everything goes well and you keep all your followers.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I watch pretty much most, if not everything that you put out there, and I absolutely love your content. You are through a third party, I guess, of the world. I think I would consider you my therapist.
Aw. It's like when those people that don't go to therapy, it's like, you're like my therapist. I'm like, man, right here. Thank you.
That's it. I just listen to what you have to say. Now,
Mm,
the reason why we're here is because I don't agree with pretty much a lot of what you have to say.
all of it.
But I'm at the point in my life, right, where I don't mind putting myself in uncomfortable circumstances, if it means I'm going to learn something, you know. And there's this clip online. I may have sent it to you before. I think it's of Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson in Hollywood has had a pretty public career failure and revamping. But he's doing this interview for this movie that's coming out. And he says, I think it's something like people's number one fear nowadays is public humiliation. And he's smiling at the guy who he's talking to, and he just goes, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that because I really truly don't care. I'm not trying to impress anybody. And if it means I'm asking stupid questions, or if it means that people are listening to me talk and they're like, what's this guy talking about? He doesn't know anything about this topic. Or if this is streamed on YouTube and your followers or my followers see it, I don't mind sounding stupid if it means I'm going to learn something. And I think I can learn a lot from you.
Thank you. I like how, as you said that though, and we're thinking of titles here, a bit of behind the scenes here, and we're having some titles, and you're like, yo, I don't want to seem emotional though. So I like that there's this line drawn at, I don't care seeming stupid. I don't want to seem like I'm emotional though. Okay. That's where we draw the line.
Exactly. But I mean, you gave me this reading about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now. There was like some reading that I was getting,
Yeah,
and
the new moon readings with
the new
the
moon
cards
reading.
and the runes. And yeah, I don't even remember what came up for you during that reading. Yeah.
Well, I got quite a few voice notes, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, there's no filter with this
There's
woman.
no, it's just blunt. Yeah.
It's just like a guided missile straight to the heart of the
Yeah.
case. You're emotionally disconnected, and I'm like, hang on a second, let's just, you know.
Like I'm not ready to take it up. But that's the guidance. Like when I do those readings, it's like, or like when I work with clients, like, yo, this is it. Like there's no sugar coating. Okay, this is boot camp. Like you gotta be willing to look at it, to own it, to actually move through it. Because I feel like that's the problem with a lot of these like, ooh, how do I not tell you this? How do I like sugarcoat it? And then this goes on, this like therapy goes on for years. It's like, yo, no, like let's look at a shit, let's own it. And it's either you own it or it owns you. And I feel like that's the power of that, where we can just like say, and I know you can handle it. I was just there straightforward because I knew you could handle it.
Right on. And I love hearing it, and I love hearing it because I respect it. Because there's been so many people over the course of my life that have fed me horse shit, and I've had to figure it out along the way
Mm.
until the relationships dissolve. And I realized I don't really give a fuck about this person. I don't care what they had to say, but all of this sugarcoating crap at the beginning kind of fed into a false sense of security in a relationship.
Yeah, but I
And
feel like when people do that, like it's not so much about you. It's like, yes, they want to be liked by you, but it's also like, oh, please accept me. So it's like, oh, I don't want to be like the bad friend. I realize like I'm actually a bad friend, not when I'm not telling you the truth. But there is this like, oh, I don't want you to reject me, so I'm gonna, bullshit. and thinking like I'm being supportive. It's like, no, you're not being helpful. Just give it how it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Essentially,
yeah.
but on that, then it's like when I hear that from you, who I barely knew at the time, again, this new moon reading. By the way, never got a new moon reading in my life before, and I heard this from you, and I'm like, I respect the hell out of that because
Mm,
I can then make a decision. Do I even want to bother with this person, or do I want to hear what she has to say? Because you
mm.
have a lot to say, and I like hearing it, different
Thank
perspectives.
you. So let's talk about the video that you're like, yes, disagree with all of it.
I love listening to you. I love listening to you and Judita.
Udita? Yeah, yeah.
Judita, excuse me. I love your perspectives on things. It's not my perspective on it, but in other words, what I'm trying to say is I will keep listening and see if I resonate with anything, right? Because some things you do say that it makes a lot of sense, and it's I can apply it in my own life, and that's fine. But you were talking about relationships and self-work, I guess, and emotional connection to yourself, to your partner, whatever the case may be. And I'm listening to it, and I sent you a voice note back. And, I was kind of like giving my perspectives on things. And you came back and I wrote it down, the last part of what I said about relationships and compromise. And you said that it was a the death of what I was saying and the black hole of the feedback that I was providing you.
Yes.
And in that, are you saying that relationships are not about compromise?
That is exactly what I'm saying. And it's actually, I love that this came out of what we were just talking about because when we're talking about sugarcoating, when we're talking about, people are like, okay, well, I'm gonna be like the nice friend and just like not tell you how it is, but like, here's a nicer version of it, or saying like, no, you're great, or like, it's like as we're like, as kids and we create this art and our parents like, this is so great, you're like an artist. It's like it's not really that good, but they're supposed to do that because they're like we're taught that's like, oh no, being supportive, that means that's what it means. Or we're saying that, oh, happy relationships means that you're not authentic. And like, it again starts from childhood, right? It's like, well, I don't like that picture that you drew, but I'm supposed to say that it's nice because that's what I'm supposed to do as a parent, as a loving person in this dynamic. And that, we move forward with that in our friendships as well. Like, oh, well, no, a good friend doesn't tell you that you're full of shit. A good friend tells you, like, it's okay, and we go into romantic relationships with the same idea that I'm supposed to self-abandon and not be me, and that will somehow create authenticity and connection in a relationship. And like, I mean, we're kind of starting off with a false premise here. So it's like if I'm compromising, if I'm letting go of me, of a part of me, of some percentage of me, then this third entity that is the relationship will somehow thrive in a result. How does that work?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but I still kind of think that there's an element of compromise. And I look at my relationships in the past as examples of that, right? Look at my current relationship. I'm married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, right? And I like heavy metal, I like boxing, and she likes neither, right? So if there's an event that I want to go to, like there's like no issues with me going to the event. There's no issues with me going um to heavy metal concerts. My wife has come to my fights and seen me fight and has been very stressed out in the crowd as I'm there bearing all to the world with some guy across the cage or the ring from me who wants to take my head off. Like, and she's there watching the man of her dreams, you know, potentially getting beat up, but
Hmm.
in a fun circumstance for me. She has come with me to heavy metal concerts.
I've heard those stories
You have heard those
from
stories,
her and you, yes.
right? Not been the most pleasant experience for both, like both experiences for her. But is would you not class that as a compromise?
For whom is that a compromise? What do you mean by compromise?
You're talking about authenticity and you're talking about would you say coming out of your comfort zone? Like I would imagine if she had the choice, she would not be there. She would not be at a heavy metal concert and she would not be at a boxing fight.
But to be fair, it's like she's not doing that though. Like, again, I feel like this is so interesting because, like, I know her background, but like, it's kind of like out of context here. But it's like, it's not, th this person's at peace with you. Like, yo, he has his things; they're not my things, and that's cool. And there's no like, yes, especially at the beginning of like, the dating process when you were into like, she went there for the fights, but it's also she's really clear that it's not her thing. And what happens in a lot of relationships is that where they're like, "Oh, right, I'm supporting you." So I'm like, "I hate being here, but I'm here." And that is that, the toxic aspect of compromise. I feel like what you guys have in this area, that the examples you brought up is not so much compromise because like this really clear, this is me. I'm not like, you're not compromising who you are. I've seen several times like you're there, like, concerts, I'm trying to make it work with my family life, with my work life. And it's like, this is me, this is important for me. And you stand in that. What happens in a lot of relationships is we feel like I have to abandon those parts of me because, oh, right, family comes first. Oh, right, this comes first. It's like, so we get to this point of deprivation of like, I can't be 100% me.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's why we're here because I think would you consider it a misunderstanding of circumstance then?
What do you mean?
I mean, compromise, like let's swing it the other way around. Do you think I want to be up on a Saturday morning furniture shopping in IKEA? Probably not, right?
Well, why are you there on Saturday? I
Uh,
love being on a Saturday morning at IKEA, just FYI. Okay.
I mean, nothing could be
I'm not
further
feeling your
from.
pain here.
I mean, I'm probably talking to the wrong person. I need a dude.
Probably.
I need a dude version of you right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Another dude would be like, yo, man, I feel you.
Do you know,
Um,
like you talk about the compromise. I'm like, yeah, if this makes her happy, if this is something that she wants to do on a Saturday morning when all I want to do is having conquered Monday to Friday with flying colors, all I want to do is relax maybe on a Saturday morning. I think a trip to IKEA on a Saturday morning to pick out that locker that matches this colored Komodo over here, which subsequently matches this color over here is a compromise. And
See,
you
for
said the
me, yeah,
compromise is not it's not part of the relationship, and I would disagree
yeah.
with that.
See, with this one, like with this example, I would say, like, why are you there? Like, that's her thing, and she loves that. And like, I've had that in my own relationship. Would be like, oh, but I want this person to be like a part of this. And I'm like, I really don't, because they don't give a shit. Just like your wife at some point went to the concert and she's like, I'm not having a great time here at all. And it's like after that, it's like, I don't want to be here. And she doesn't. She doesn't come to these things because that's your thing. And same with how is that different reverse with IKEA? And the reason this came up, this the argument that you brought up was when Udita and I were talking about the inner work and how it's for the person. We're talking about the partners, and I was using my own relationship in the past, how no, I needed my partner to want to do the work. And I'm like, yo, you can't do it for me. Like, you can't do it for the relationship. Can you pretend that we're not together anymore? And like, would you individually do the work, or do you not care about it? And that was a big thing, because the person was doing it for me, that means they're self-abandoning. That's digging an even deeper hole. Like, if there's already a problem of self-abandonment, that's even there. Like, you can't do it for another person. But if it's something like, okay, pretend I'm not in this relationship, is this really what I'm choosing? And am I someone who's going to improve myself, or am I someone who wants to do the inner work? Like, if it's a yes for me, then it's a genuine yes. But self-abandoning, like, oh, right, I'm going to do this thing for this person because that's what they want. This is how I make them happy. You cannot make a person permanently happy. And if anything, you're wasting their time because it's like you're pretending to be something you're not.
Right. Okay. Because that was the trigger. I was left-wing liberal Dave for a second when I heard that. I'm like, well, hang on a second. If someone came to me, let's say I had this girlfriend and we're 2 years in, everything is going great, and then all of a sudden she needs something from me. She needs me to work on this part of my life to whatever the reason, to better our relationship, to better her connection with me, to better my connection with myself, right? If I turn to her and I say, you know what, girl, I'm going to do this for you. You need me to do this. I want to make you happy. And then I basically heard from you that that's not good enough.
As you were saying, I'm like, you know what I want? I want like a little buzzer so I can like press it whenever I want, like, oh, this is wrong. Like this, like there's this word because first you said about not that it's wrong, it's like you said those, it's like, where those points where we just stumble, right? The first one was she needs me to do the work. I'm like, well, you guys are both screwed then. Because it's like, first, she needs something from you, and that's how you start. Like, she needs me to do this. And this is where the problem comes in because we're trying to fix the other person. It's like, I need you to be this to be happy. Like, I need you to be this way in a relationship so that I'm fulfilled. And as women, we have that. Like I had that in a past relationship at some point. And I'm like, oh, I have my own trust issues, but I'm like, well, I can trust my partner as long as they show me a map and a schedule, and as long as they're trustworthy in the way that I want them to be, then I will trust. When it's really like, maybe you have trust issues, So it's like, and I did because it was just like I wasn't trusting, and so it's like I need the other person to change to fix so that I can trust them. It's like, no, when there's a
Yeah,
need, you're already on the wrong path. And then, so from this communicating, this is what I need you to be. And this is really kind of like emotional blackmail. So basically means, well, the relationship will end if you don't do this thing that I want you to do. And so, of course, we're like, okay, well, to make you happy, this is what I'm doing. So it's like, well, that's two people that are lost. And I feel like that's what many relationships are nowadays. It's like, okay, not we're both like in our wholeness and I'm 100% and you're 100%, but it's like we're both lost. Let's at least be lost together and like
right.
feed those triggers and feed those needs. Like, I need you to be this. Okay. And I need you to be this. So it's like, and then it becomes a scoreboard. And I love what Tony Robbins said at some point. He's like, when you're asking for a check is when you're on your way out, because that's what happens in this relationship when we're like, okay, well, remember I did that thing for you, so you're supposed to do this thing for me. Wait, am I getting what I want to get? It's like, that's not what relationships are about. So actually, when we compromise, a lot of the times when we self-abandon, what happens is it's like subconscious. You may not even realize it as it's happening because you're like, okay, right, this is what a good husband does, or this is what a good wife does. But there's this resentment that like, ugh, I did this thing that I didn't want to do for you. I wanted that thing that was important for you. How come you don't do things for me? Or like, why don't you bring me flowers anymore? Like, it's not about the damn flowers. It's about the fact that there's this built up resentment that comes from self-abandonment, that comes from compromise.
Right. I don't want to use a Friends reference, but you watch Friends, right?
Of course.
Yeah, it just reminds me of when Monica and Richard broke up because she wants a baby and he doesn't
Yeah.
because he's got like grandkids.
Yeah.
And it's like he turned around and said, "You know what? I love you so much that if that's what you need, then that's what we're going to do." And she freaked out. She's like, I would be the happiest woman in the world if you didn't say, if that's what you need, I want you to need it. So I hear your point.
Yeah.
I do hear your point.
Sorry, give
But
me 1 second because I do not want the laptop to just run out of battery as we're on the best part. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's like, and there's this, and men get so frustrated. I hear this from my guy friends that are, they're like, well, I'm doing that thing. And she's like, well, no, I don't want you to do it. I want you to want to do it. It's like, but I don't want to do it. And it's like,
yeah,
so don't do it though. And that's what I tell them. I'm like, so then why are you doing it? Just communicate that. And then there's this pressure of like, okay, well, and men have that. Like men have the not enoughness wound. Like women have this, like, I'm too much, and men have, I'm not enough. And in a sense, they are like women are too much for men that are more like, structured and box thinking, and women are like all over the place. And then in a sense, men are not enough because women are like so emotional, they're so expressive. And it's like, why can't you be like that? And it's like, it's not that one is too much and one's not enough. It's just we're just different. And that's the beauty because we complement each other. So it's not about the differences that we have, is when we're trying to make the differences go away and be like, oh, well, you're just a messed up version of a man. So can't you be more like a man? It's like, no, because those are my gifts, and vice versa.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting, right? Because we could shut it all down immediately with an app. Like, there's Tinder and Bumble for dating.
Okay.
We need to get like an app for long-term relationships and marriage, right? Where we just get an Excel spreadsheet and a questionnaire, and we just take out the journey, right? We just take out the journey, we take out the figuring out life together, and we find out how you would deal in certain circumstances, and we just forget about the journey, right? Because I'm so glad I'm out of the dating scene, right? I am so glad. I don't have the ring on now, but my ring, it's in my jewelry box.
Like I don't have a ring. I swear there's a ring though.
Yeah. But I'm just kind of like dating right now must be so hard because this is kind of like a topic for discussion way more than back in the day, right? Emotional availability in a new
Mm,
relationship is
mm.
just the furthest thing from what any guy wants, right? Like for me, it's like when you said it to me, I'm like, you're damn right. I'm emotionally unavailable because that is my shield. That is my defense mechanism that keeps the bullshit away, right? I am emotionally available to the one person that matters, right? But up and until that
Mm.
point where that shield can come down, I can see you're cringing behind
I
your
want the
smile.
buzzer. I want the buzzer. I want
But
to have the
it
buzzer.
for guys, you see, this is where I need to step in, right?
Hmm.
I know you've got great intentions, Anna, but you're never going to read a book written by Dave Keane, right? How to deal with period pain, you know? Girls, you're going to feel a little pressure here. That's not going to happen, right? And there's no woman can tell any man how
Yeah.
emotionally available they should or should not be, right?
Or any woman for that matter. It's like a woman can't tell
Yeah,
another woman how emotionally they available they should or should not be. It's just like that's what I was
yeah,
saying with the fixing. It's like when we're trying to approach either our own journey from a place of fixing, oh, I'm not good enough. This has to change about me. Let's do all these things to fix me because I'm not enough. Like people work out from this, right? It's like they work out. It's like, oh, I hate my body. Let me work out. It's like, how about I love my body and that's why I want to work out. Like this excites me. I know you go to, when you go to boxing, you're like, oh my God, this is like my happy place, right? And it's like when we go that from that place, like, yes. When we go from fixing, no, because you're not going to be happy with whatever result. And it's the same with this. It's like when we're approaching other people with this is how you should be, that tells everybody more about you than about them because it's your own needing to fix the other person. And
right.
I don't think it's even a gender thing. Like, yes, absolutely, women don't get again, like I said, we're different. We're different. We think differently. We function differently. We have different priorities. Women are more about connection. Men strive more for freedom. Like we're different. And that's the beauty of it. That's why we're, like I said, the differences are not the problem. Is that we're trying to make the differences go away. It's like, well, I want you to be more like me. It's like, no, you don't, because you don't want to date someone like you.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like for any individual, I feel like we're just not in a place of saying this is how you should be. And I'm not saying that that's that we get a say in that. But we do get a say in what kind of partners we want, and different people have different priorities. And I feel like that when there's just this clear misalignment, this is what's important to me, but it's not important for my partner. And that was the emphasis on that if the partners are like, okay, well, I'm gonna do that thing that you want me to do. It's like, no, don't do it. Just be you, and I can be me. And if we're wasting each other's time here, then it's not in alignment. And I'm gonna find someone who is in alignment with my values, and you can do the same.
But how do you overstep that at the beginning of the relationship when you're trying to, like, I'm not saying girls and guys here, right? But I'm just saying when you don't want to let anybody in because you've been hurt or you've got trust issues or whatever the case may be, you got to hide the crazy for a few months, surely, right? Because otherwise you're wasting that first 3 months. This is where the honeymoon phase. It should be fun. It should be exciting. And then after you invest that amount of time in there, I can see you're stewing
Yeah,
behind that.
I feel like, oh, it's like, wait, what? It's like, well, you gotta hide the crazy. It's like, I actually had a friend just recently, she was going on a date. She's like, do you do nails? I see that your nails are always nice. Where do you do your nails? I'm like, I do them myself. She's like, I have a date tomorrow. Maybe I should do my nails. I'm like, do you usually do your nails? No. I'm like, then why the hell would you do them for a date? Like, that's just not you. And she was like, oh, maybe you're right. I'm like, yeah, because like, why are you putting on a shield for like 3 months, pretending that you're something that you're not? And then like, guess what? That shit hits the fan at some point at month number 4. It's like, oh, actually, I was full of shit. You have a whole new surprise. So
Oh God.
in
You
that the
see,
first date, I was like, why would you do that? Yeah.
that's what I said there years ago when I said I'm so glad I'm out of dating. Um, It's like if I could give like 18-year-old Dave advice, right? What's the first thing I'd say is like, I don't care what you look like on a Friday night when I go pick you up to go on a date. I want to know what you look like in 6 months in my apartment wearing my hoodie with no makeup on a Sunday morning, that kind of way. It's like,
I personally love I actually like the breakup stage. I feel like I remember speaking to my friend about it. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "I want to break up with someone like before I actually commit to them long term. I want to see how this person's in the breakup." And like cuz that tells you a lot about a person, how they end things, how they're like how's the communication during that time. That tells you a lot about a person.
yeah,
And it sounds like weird, but just like, yeah, but, and there's so many coaches, relationship coaches, like, yeah, we broke up, and you could realize that there was actually more love rather than like hatred and disconnection. Like, it was really this like conscious and company, like, okay, we're not ready. And then they got together again. And like so many cases of that, it's just like, you can tell a lot. So it's like, why would you honestly, I mean, this is what this channel is about. It's authenticity. So it's like, as you said that, it's just like, well, let's just hide the crazy for a little bit. I'm like, you stand fucking tall in that crazy. Like, you're like, yo, this is me. Okay. This is just like all of me. And you're proud of that because you don't label it as crazy. You're like, this is me and it's amazing. And this is all my colors. And so it's like, that's not something to hide. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you you. Why the hell would you bullshit and hide that?
yeah, but that's the fun part of the beginnings of the relationships, right? You're trying to figure out what the hell is this girl about? What I can see she's like got that like makeup on, hair on, like all dressed nice, blah blah blah. And then, she's laughing at your jokes and you just want to, hey, what are you
And you're
really?
there like, I know I'm not that funny.
I'm not that funny. You sound like a hyena. That can't be a real laugh, you know? So I don't know. I'm so glad I'm out of that scene. But just as I say, the barrier, the emotional unavailability, the lack of trust, that being used today in my life as my defense mechanism to the bullshit. I'm okay with that. And you can call me out as much as you want. I'm okay with that.
I'm like, we said we're not going to turn this into a session, Dave. I'm like, I do not want to address your inner child right now. Um,
It all started when I was 6. God damn it.
it started earlier, Dave. It started earlier.
You say
No,
that.
but as as we were talking about that, because this is about compromise, that concept, it's compromise. And I feel like, I love that we brought it to the dating and how it starts compromising ourselves. It's like, oh, this is who I am, but I'm gonna hide that. And like, I don't do my nails, but like, all right, let me do it for the first date or whatever. So it's like that already comes with that's compromising right now. It's like you're full of shit. That's compromising because you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do this for this person because that's what I think they're gonna like. So
Yeah.
I am self-abandoning. So, and the self-abandonment, the bottom line of self-abandonment comes from, and so this is what, the whole compromise is really about. It's like, because I don't believe that I can be myself. And so if I'm truly myself, they're not going to want to be with me and they're going to reject me. And we're talking about dating, but it's really, like relationships, but it's really the same with friendships.
Yeah.
Like how refreshing it is. Like we met, and how refreshing was it when it's like, yo, you're emotionally unavailable, but it's like, but it's okay, man, but it's
We're
okay, we
good.
can be friends. And it was just like, it was light, but
Yeah.
how refreshing it is. And I have several friendships like that where it's just like from the first day, like, oh no, okay, the first time you're still like getting to know them, but then like the second time you see, you're like just out in the open and both of you are, and you're like, this, and
Yeah.
how freaking refreshing it is. That's when there's no compromise. And there's less I want not baggage, but like pressure. There's less pressure in a friendship because you're like, well, I don't care if they don't like me, there's no romantic involvement because it's like in romantic relationships, this is where our childhood stuff comes up. Cause it's like, oh, I don't want to be rejected by my mom and dad, or those things are replaying in our relationship. So it's like you're likelier to be more full of shit in the romantic relationships because there's more at stake. It's like you're replaying those like, oh, my partner's rejecting me, I'm not good enough. And we do that same thing we did in childhood. Like, how do I shut parts of myself down so mommy and daddy would like me? And it's like, how do I shut parts of myself down so my partner will accept me? And
Right.
I
And
feel like
that
that's what compromise is really about.
and it comes a lot with age too, right? Because, I remember years and years ago being so frustrated that this person didn't like me. And not even in a
Mm,
romantic relationship, just a friend through a
yeah.
friend. And again, that defense mechanism that I have works so well when you're emotionally unavailable to that crap. But it comes with age where you're just like, you know, I don't there's this huge push online the white Christian man is the blame for the world's problems. I'm very outspoken now. I don't give a fuck who I offend. I don't purposefully go and offend people, but the authenticity of being yourself is refreshing. But you got to grow up and learn that you're not going to please everybody. And as I got older, and as I guess would you say matured up a little bit? I don't know. Um, I care less and less about who I want to impress, and that level of authenticity. I don't even know how you would phrase this, but it just when you don't need everybody to like you, when you don't
Yeah.
want the acceptance of a group. I think
Yeah.
I may have told you this before, but it was I had a small group of friends that I used to go out with, and there was a lot of large groups of other friends in my hometown that would go out, and like 20 of them on a night out in Cork City. And I was always like out with my three or four friends, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to be in that group of 20, having a good time, getting drunk,
Hmm.
talking about it the next day. And then all of a sudden, you fast forward to 2010, 2011. I'm in this large group of friends in the gym that I just found in my hometown. And all of a sudden, I'm out with these 20 guys. I'm out with 20 guys. I've got my group. I'm having the best time of my life. I really wasn't. And I was trying to impress all of these people with my stories, with my humor. And then I just stopped going out with them because I thought I needed it and I don't. And fast forward 15, 20 years later, I'm just sitting here just kind of going, yeah, don't give a fuck. Don't need to impress anybody. Be your authentic self.
Okay, I want to address that. I love what you just shared, and I love the realization of that. But what's coming up to share is that there can be a thin line, and I totally get it because I related to that. I mean, like I shut off all my emotions. I had those walls up of just like, no, I'm safe being emotionally unavailable, and like screw you, and I don't care about you and what you think about me because like I'm doing the whole lone wolf thing. And sure, there were those walls, but in reality, what was underneath that, it's like, yeah, but I was afraid of actually opening up to someone. And I
Hmm.
was afraid of actually having those vulnerable friends. And that was just over the last few years that I was like, wow, I'm actually opening up to these female friends. I'd never thought I would have female friends because it's just like, oh, they're so emotional. They're talking about this, or like, women are so petty or whatever. And there's like so much authenticity. And that was a conscious choice because realizing like, okay, well, this isn't working. Like the walls aren't working. It's time to do something else. And there's this thin line of, I don't care because I got my walls. And so nobody can come in here and I've got this thing going on. And there's a difference between my walls are down and I don't care in the sense that I'm so in me that I'm okay with close connections. And oh, there was this beautiful meme on Instagram and there was a quote that was something like, love is giving someone the power to destroy you and trusting that they won't.
Wow. That's
And
impressive.
it's that and just like putting down your walls and whether it's romantic relations or friendships, it's like that person can destroy and like I'm so vulnerable, I'm so open. And at the same time, I'm okay no matter what happens. And I've gone from one to just like, oh no, I'm safe because I have my walls to actually be like, actually, I'm terrified. Like I'm terrified of emotional intimacy. I'm terrified of really opening up and being vulnerable and surrendering, like my truth and really allowing a person to like see all my insecurities. And especially in close friendships, that was like, I was like, that's not a thing. And I would choose like emotionally unavailable friends because it was like that, like we don't talk emotions. Okay. There's like we support it exactly. We support each other and stuff, but like we don't talk emotions. To I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be that. And like, how do we open up to that? So it's like it both seems like strength, but it comes from very different places. And I want to emphasize that.
I could tell that you were that type of person before even speaking with you because of your big hat that
My
you just keep down over your face when we were going to our respective places in the morning. This hat was just covering everything but your chin. And I'm like, she doesn't want to be approached by anybody.
I remember at some point you saw me, you're like, you look like you could like commit murder and just disappear into a crowd.
You look like an assassin, just like she's got a pistol in that bag. I know it. That's
No, so there
fantastic.
was this like a protective shield. No, but I feel like that was like you met me after my shift though. It was a lot worse before that. Like there was just like those walls. And I was just like this kind of surrender to it. And I want to address something that you said because I know we're on time, but you said something with such pride that you're like, I have one person that I trust with my emotional body, you know, and then that's your partner. And I want to address that because the reality is that, first of all, it's a lot to carry for one person. It's a lot to put like all your emotions on to one person for them to be the source of, your regulated nervous system. And so it's actually when and I want to hear feedback here because I do imagine that you're going to disagree, and that's good. Um, that it takes a village. It takes a village. I was saving this for the end, to kind of like see who wins here. No, it's not a competition, but that it takes a village to regulate your emotions. And I found this, like I said, for myself, when I was in this place of like the walls are going up, there was so much agitation. There was so much like, why isn't this person meeting my emotional needs? And then it shifted very much. And I see my dynamic shifting when that friend base was there, when that community is there of people that I trust, not just like, okay, I need to gossip with my girlfriends and for them to take my side. And like, he's a jerk. Not in that, but just sharing, it's like, this is what I'm going through, that these are the emotions that are coming up. And yeah, and like so same for men. And back when you were saying about, you that a woman can't tell a man like what is comfortable for them, what came up to my mind is like there are so many literally like men who are in this work and who are in our inner work and who were there and they're like, ex-military men that are like, tough and they're like, oh shit, actually it pays off to open up to your emotions and create these like, men groups that are they're like going on forest, whatever you men do and like survival things. So like things that are like intense or like physically difficult, but like that builds community like in the small men's community. So, what I'm saying is community, it takes a village, not just to grow a child, but to also nourish a relationship. And I would love to hear your take on this.
Well, I think I touched on it recently with you in our DMs with my general feedback and disagreement of things you say, and then your feedback on my feedback where you disagree too. It takes a while for that one person, especially, I don't know, I'll talk about it for me. Maybe some men who are different, these military guys with these men groups that you talk about, for me, make absolutely no sense, right? Because it's just so feminine. Like you know, it's just so feminine, you
How
know?
about you working out and like, with all these guys in the gym beating the shit out of each other and like what you do and how you're like, oh my God, that's my therapy. Is that also feminine, what you do a few times a week?
Getting all sweaty with big, sexy, like muscly guys in the gym. Absolutely. But it all kind of like stems into itself. It's like the funnel that brings it all together, right? Um, I don't know how much I can say on this public forum out of respect to my partner, but she knows me at my core, right? And she's the only one that knows me at my core. Okay. And it took a long time for me to be able to open up
Hmm.
to the core for that, right? Things I've gone through, things that I'm going through, things that she helped me with, and vice versa, whatever the case may be. A lot of it stems from modern day society and the lack of accountability. Okay.
Hmm.
I don't want to tap on the back for the fact that I've never been in trouble with the cops. I've never been in handcuffs, you know. I've been incredibly angry internally and externally. But when you talk about emotion and letting people see that part of you, the less, in my opinion, the better. Because when relationships are unconditional, it's fine. When there's conditions attached, like we've talked about before in that wonderful conversation we had in Engelberg, you opened up my eyes to a lot about what caused friendships of mine to break up,
Mm.
to finish, things that I would have never have thought to be true, things that I even didn't even consider, right? But in this ramble, what I'm trying to say is I fixed a lot of different parts of my life over the years. And even now, right? I'm incredibly overwhelmed with work, family life, finances, things that I'm trying to get in order so that everything is taken care of, so that at the end of the month, bills are paid, money is in the savings. I can do things with my kids at the weekend. Like I go to bed at night knowing I've had a full goddamn day. During the pandemic, it was very difficult because I wasn't working so much. There was a lot of home office, there was a lot of days off. I lost my job. I ended up getting a job back. But that feeling of Jesus Christ, this is my job. I need to provide. I need to be the provider.
Mm.
Uh, Only one person really got to see how the pandemic really affected me, and that was my wife, you know. Having fixed all of what was going on in my life at that point. And recently, I mean, you saw me before I went back to the gym. I was so excited to go back to the gym. And I know in the DMs, I was saying that this is my therapy. This is fixing my problems. It
Yeah.
really is. And it is from the perspective of it allows me to get that physical aspect of my life in order. I get all the adrenaline, I get it all out. I take it out on the bag, I take it out on my training partners. I'm losing weight. I get that fix of dopamine with compliments from my wife because I'm losing weight. It all stems into this big funnel of happiness because I go to sleep earlier, I sleep better, I'm better in the morning at work, I'm better at 5 o'clock when I pick up my kids, I'm better when the kids go to bed and I can talk to my wife without any distractions. Um, and that goes 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I'm in the gym in the evening. My weekends, I can afford to go and do things with my kids, with my entire family most of the time. But it started with fixing it through the gym and everything kind of had like a knock-on effect. And again, that funnel of that physical aspect down to the emotional aspect. Then we talk about our day. Then the day is done. We go to sleep and it starts again tomorrow. So I think that might give you a bit more insight as to how I would send you a DM and go, this, me posting a video, hitting a boxing bag solves my problems.
And that's the outlet. Yeah. And as you were saying that, I'm like, that is literally men's group plus emotional openness. Like, it's just like that, like the get it. Because that's the thing. As you said, it's like men and women are different. Like the way what we need emotionally is different. And like men have a lot of that. It's like you need to express things physically. Whenever we're about connecting, we need to talk about things for hours. Like you would die from how much we need to talk. So
Yeah.
it's different. It's very different. And so it's like as you were saying all of that, I'm like, again, thin line between when we find that outlet but we're not working with the root cause and it's working for a while versus when it's a holistic approach. And that is still my take on this. And I know that you have a different take, and that's why you're here.
So basically what you're saying is quit your job, leave your family, and just go do you, bro.
No, like what
Okay.
you're doing already, but I'm saying like plus like with that physical, it's like it doesn't take away the need for openness and vulnerability and actually owning, hey, why do I need that outlet? Why do I feel that stress? What is the root cause? What is underneath that?
Okay. Well, I mean, it's as
And I want to
explained.
open this up to the comments below, really, because it's just like, this is what I love, like, because we're like, we have different opinions, it's a different take, and hey, what do you all think? The audience watching this.
Exactly. Open it up to the comments. I'd love to hear. You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see someone disagree with me and tell me that I'm full of shit and for what reasons, because I like hearing it from you.
I'll write
Um,
that.
Write it down, write it down. I don't care. But I love hearing it because right now I'm kind of like, you know, the whole masculine, feminine, like provider guy going through the stresses of the day, work, family life, making sure everything is in order. I don't get to sit on the couch and watch TV all night. I've got to think about A, B, and C because A, B, and C is coming up tomorrow. Go, go, go. The Swiss life, right? Um, that's stressful. And my problems seem to be fixing themselves right now. Me 2.5 months ago, where we were talking in that playground that time, compared to me now,
Mm.
far less stress, Dave, sits in
And
front of you
that's
right now.
good and it works. And that's it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right
That's
on.
it. And I love that. And I love your willingness to come into that humility because it's important, that it's just like, I know my way, but hey, I'm open for feedback. And it's like it's so important to come into this place of like, wait, can we just for a moment, like, I don't know anything. And like, what is the alternative? Because that's how we get out of that box because we just stay stale. It's like, okay, this is the way, and I'm stagnant. It's like everything in life is moving, and even things that like, okay, this worked, but let me look at it from another side. What if it doesn't work anymore? What if it's not right for me? And those important to have those checks. And for that, the willingness to be like, maybe I don't know anything at all. And same for me, it's like, what if I don't know anything at all? What if this is all wrong? So yeah, really, really important. And I feel like that's what I want to leave this with, the invitation to that.
Absolutely. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I hope to
Thank
speak
you.
with you